Now, with the state election just 4 months away, we wanted a studio debate on planning tonight, but Minister Prue Goward declined to engage. A short time ago, we discussed planning for density with Dr Tim Williams, CEO of the Committee for Sydney, and opposition planning spokesman Luke Foley, MLC. Gentlemen, welcome. 16,000 for the Bays precinct. Andrew Constant did let the cat out of the bag, Luke Foley, didn't he?
Well, what we've said is that the future of the Bays precinct has to be about much more, Quinton, than simply a housing target. Labor's vision is for an open, diverse and connected Bays precinct.
Tim Williams, this is a bad start, isn't it? It's really blown up or exposed what many sceptics in this state would see as the real agenda.
Yeah, it was a real pity. I don't think it exposed anything other than old-style thinking by treasuries throughout the world. They think like this. They just want to get a maximum return for public land, and we need to convince them. And part of the purpose of the Bays discussion, ironically, was to try and do not business as usual in Sydney by saying very much actually the sort of things that Luke said. You know, we need to build a place here, but we need a way for the Treasury to allow us to develop in a way that doesn't require maximum return on public investment.
You embrace density now, do you? Because Urban Growth New South Wales has bailed out of urban sprawl.
We need density done well, but that has to involve a discussion with the community, and community acceptance of increased density in existing suburbs will only be built if there are plans on the table about accompanying community infrastructure, the parks and playgrounds, the new childcare centres, the new schools, the new transport connections.
Tim Williams, where do you stand on code accessible, which was the biggest thing in New South Wales as far as fundamental reform of the Planning Act was concerned?
Look, I think it was bungled totally. I think there is a proper discussion to be had with the community about this. It wasn't properly had. I have to say to you, I've travelled the world a bit, that there are lots of cities and countries do code accessible very well, but we must remember here, and I think it was forgotten, trust broke down in this state between the community and the planning system. So something that's perfectly acceptable in Queensland and in other parts of the world turned out not to be acceptable here, because we need to re-establish trust.
You've been here for 4 years. You've been advisor to Labor governments in the United Kingdom. Yep. Give us your observation of what you think led to the breakdown of trust between the government and the community.
Oh, clearly there was the wrong kind of relationship between the public and private sector going in the past. I think partly, by the way, it was partly about frustration that big city thinkers had about we need the density, we need the homes. So I don't think that was the right way to proceed. But look, politicians, I think, in this city need to step up, in all parties, to embrace growth, because the choice is not between no growth and growth, it's between bad growth and well-managed growth. Public transport, yes. School planning, yes. Integrated planning, yes. But politicians need to not just reflect the fears of their community, they need to actually raise the aspirations of their community. Density will serve us well in this city.
The biggest thing I've picked up is that there's no confidence about public transport. Buses are gridlocked on roads, an aggravation for commuters. And what about this aspect of light rail?
Well, I called in October last year for a commitment in this state to Western Sydney light rail, connecting the smart, ambitious young kids through the suburbs of Western Sydney with those global jobs around Macquarie Park, around the Macquarie University, with the global economic corridor. I'm glad the government followed my call with the commitment themselves to Western Sydney light rail. There's a discussion now of the various route options. I think we should be doing a lot more on light rail. That's why I came out in October last year calling for that commitment.
Where's your commitment on the jobs? 650,000 jobs. Where are they going to... Well, I mean, there's a lot of migration, natural birth rate here. The population is growing. How are we going to deliver those jobs?
I think the modern discussion is about two things. One is about public transport connectivity, connecting the Sydney is a polycentric place. It isn't just the CBD. So we need to build up 4 or 5 places in Sydney to actually give them a kind of economic boost through connectivity. But the other side of it is the growing recognition that building up high-density, well-designed town centres is an economic attractor in itself. What we need to going forward is not just move the jobs to places, but create the environments in which jobs will be created. And that public transport connectivity, look, as a business-led organisation, we get public transport. Modern cities are public transport-led in their density development. This city and this culture, the government needs to embrace the public transport future of Sydney as critical to its growth.
Okay, what about affordable housing? It's still at a crisis in this state, and public housing.
Yeah, look, I mean, the affordable housing discussion, again, the base precinct, by the way, had a very important discussion showing that Copenhagen demands 20% affordable housing, Toronto 20% of affordable housing.
By legislating, by mandating.
Yeah, and we should have the discussion.
We haven't got it here.
We should have the discussion in this state, not just by piling on expectations on the private sector, but having a structured conversation with them saying we would like affordable housing to be one of our priorities when public land is disposed of to the private sector. I think that's a very legitimate discussion.
I inserted in the government's planning bill last year in the Legislative Council amendments that required a commitment to affordable housing. The then Planning Minister called it class war. I'm disappointed Prue Goward's not here because that planning bill has sat there in the lower house for 12 months. We didn't defeat the bill, we amended it and sent it back to the government. I've lost count of how many times I've said I'm willing to discuss planning reform with the government.
I think the only thing I would add to that is that the Premier is leading by example. He's got this innovation initiative from the Premier to look at the future of affordable housing. So I think they're on the move.
No commitment to mandate.
I think they're on the move to look at the solutions.
There's no commitment to mandate.
I think they're on the move, and I think they will consider inclusionary zoning, as it's called. But it needs to be a broader discussion of the levies that we put on the private sector. But look, cities should do affordable housing, and again, business-led organisation agrees with that proposition.
Tim Williams, Luke Foley, thanks very much.
Thanks, Quentin.
Thank you very much.